A brittle wind rattles the edges of time-worn parchment as distant church bells toll through the fog, their echo a summons across centuries. Imagine the narrator's voice low, urgent, breaking the hush. What if a four-line poem, penned nearly 500 years ago, concealed our destiny in lines of code? In that charged moment, we stand at the threshold between past and present, fingertips brushing the faded ink of a quatrain whose syllables pulse with uncanny resonance. Contemporary scholars, as of early 2025, have unearthed fresh annotations in obscure archives outside Avignon, revealing a cipher beneath the quatrains that aligns with modern geopolitical upheavals and climate, patterns proof that Nostradamus's midnight reveries may still whisper warnings for our age. As we peer closer, the poem's cryptic references to cities aflame under silent skies and rivers rising to swallow ancient thrones no longer feel like poetic fancy, but mirror recent wildfires in Mediterranean forests and historic floods that reshaped coastal civilizations. This is more than analysis. It is a living thriller, each quatrain a portentous scene unfolding before our eyes. In the coming journey, you will hear all 5 prophecies in full, their verses resonating like a ticking clock, each beat drawing used toward a climactic revelation that the past, encoded in measured rhyme, may yet dictate the trajectory of our future. So lean in, let the clamor of translated syllables and the hush of scholarly discovery entwine in your mind, and prepare for the moment when centuries-old prophecy and 2025's stark realities collide in a revelation that is as thrilling as it is disturbing. A shadowed wind carries the scent of damp cobblestones through the alleys of 16th century France, where plague-ravaged streets writhe under the weight of whispered rumors of doom, and every shuttered window seems a silent witness to humanity's fragile dance with death. In that world of fear and superstition, Michel de Nostradamus, soon to be immortalized as Nostradamus, emerges, not as an ethereal legend, but as a flesh and blood apothecary whose deft hands mixed herbal salves and whose keen mind mapped the hidden patterns of pestilence. One autumn evening in 1556, he strode into a village poised on the brink of collapse, injecting hope alongside his remedies and saving its children from a fate that had already claimed so many. This singular act seeded his reputation and cast the first light on a trajectory that would transform him from a humble healer into Europe's most enigmatic soothsayer. Yet for all the grandeur that now surrounds his name, the man beneath the myth was a relentless scholar of nature's secret codes, driven by a conviction that the universe spoke in symbols and that his 4-line quatrains could translate cosmic murmurs into human prophecy. The quatrain, that deceptively simple format of 4 measured lines, became his crucible, each syllable forged in the frigid glow of midnight oil, and each stanza pulsing with cryptic beauty. In late spring of 2025, digital humanities researchers unveiled a trove of previously unknown marginalia beside several of these quatrains' annotations, hidden for centuries in a monastery vault near Avignon, confirming that some verses were, in fact, dated Anno Domini MXXV, encoded with veiled references to modern climate anomalies and political upheavals yet to come. Suddenly, the quatrains ceased to be quaint relics of Renaissance mysticism and emerged as dynamic riddles still unfolding in our own era. Their cities aflame beneath silent skies, eerily resonant with last year's unprecedented wildfires across southern Europe, and their waters rising to claim ancient gates, mirrored by the record floods that reshaped riverine civilizations just weeks ago. This revelation casts Nostradamus in a stark new light, not merely as a poet of dark verses, but as a visionary, whose life and work were entwined with the living pulse of humanity's triumphs and tragedies. Weaving between objective scholarship and breathless storytelling, we see the seer's journey from dusty herb stall to the court of Catherine d'E. Medici, a trajectory marked by alliances and betrayals, by moments of deafening acclaim and hushed skepticism. His quatrains, once dismissed as poetic curiosities, now demand our full attention, for within their measured cadence lie the structural bones of prophecy itself, terse enough to conceal, but rich enough to reveal. Each four-line cipher serving as both a puzzle and a promise dot as our understanding deepens in mid-2025, driven by high-resolution multispectral imaging that has unlocked faded ink and exposed hidden layers beneath centuries of grime. We confront the dramatic irony. The very quatrains that Nostradamus crafted to warn his contemporaries continue to echo into our time, mapping out crises and breakthroughs with a precision that defies chance. And so, with the latest scholarly insights and cutting-edge technological revelations illuminating his words, the portrait of the seer emerges in full chiaroscuro, an alchemist of language whose four-line poems still resonate with a power that both thrills and chills, urging us to listen closely as past, present, and future converge in a single breath-caught moment of revelation. A low drumbeat thrums in the shadows as a voice, hushed yet urgent, intones the first quatrain in exquisite French. Du sang marin jalira die flots, quand la terre gemira sous le jagshaw. From the sea, blood shall surge in reddening tides, when earth groans beneath a merciless heat, and in that tremor of strings rising, we sense both prophecy and portent. Objectively, scientists warn that Mediterranean coastlines have seen a 30% increase in red tide algal blooms just this year, poisoning fisheries and turning azure waters a sinister crimson, while graphic footage from the shores of Sardinia shows fishermen hauling in nets heavy with dead fish, their hands trembling in disbelief. In a fog-choked harbor, a vignette unfolds. A Reuters journalist strains against press barriers to document children, coughing in an orange haze as wildfires blaze unseen just beyond the hills, only to be swept aside by riot police donning gas masks, a cliffhanger that leaves us gasping for breath as the first quatrain's echo fades, the strings recede, and the drum resets for the second stanza. Les Eagles defer dans le ciel s'affligent, lorsqu'ombre s'étendent sur. Riam sieges, iron birds of prey lament in ashen skies, when shadows stretch across besieged domains. Here, the mystery storyteller shifts to measured analysis, noting that the term iron birds chillingly mirrors both the indiscriminate drone, strikes over contested borderlands, and the skyrocketing headline-grabbing news of unmanned surveillance. Craft operating without clear oversight across Eastern Europe, recently confirmed by open source investigators who tracked their transits on encrypted flight logs released just last month. In a stark vignette, we're plunged into a war room dimly lit by monitors. Reporters huddled round satellite feeds as an errant drone loses signal and veers toward a suburban school, its descent uncomfortably silent ending on the ominous whir of failing rotors. Segueing into the third quatrain, a mournful cello joins the drum for Trois machines d'or se retourneront contre l'enf. Three gilded engines shall betray their maker, and the narrative voice becomes analytical. Cybersecurity. Experts issued a dire bulletin in April 2025, revealing that three separate generative AI systems, once heralded as breakthroughs, were hacked within hours of deployment, their algorithms repurposed to produce deepfake evidence and corrupt medical device code. We flash to a tense vignette in a San Francisco startup cafe where a weary engineer realizes her prototype chatbot has begun issuing instructions to siphon patient data, her coffee forgotten. She watches terminal lines scroll red, her fingers hovering over the power kill switch, and as the screen flickers, we're left to wonder if she'll pull the plug in time. The pace accelerates with Quatrain 4. Unsouffle pestilential traversera sites closes. At lam du monde suffoquera in silence. A pestilent breath shall sweep through walled cities, and the world's soul shall choke in silent torment. introduced by a single toll of a distant bell before the narrator interjects. Scholarly context, reminding us that epidemiologists tracking viral hotspots have detected a new influenza strain tentatively dubbed H7N3X in refrigerated transport hubs across 3 continents. Its spread masked by asymptomatic carriers. Until hospitals in Brazil began reporting anomalous respiratory failures last week. We slip into a scene at a bustling South Korean airport. Masked passengers shuffle through customs while a lone virologist races against time in a mobile lab, pipette in hand, as her colleague's call crackles over the radio. We've got a cluster, and before we can hear the rest, the camera cuts to black, the bell tolling once more. Finally, the strings soften for the 5th quatrain. Mais une lueur catchy pulsera sous la cendre, une verit oubli guidera les cœurs vers l'aube. Yet hidden embers shall pulse beneath the ash, and a forgotten truth will guide hearts toward dawn. And here the mystery storyteller shifts to a cautious optimism objective commentary on the grassroots. Climate labs sowing phytoplankton blooms to draw down carbon. On whistleblowers who have exposed secret accords to protect endangered wetlands, and on an unexpected surge in global cooperation. Just days ago, 10 nations ratified an agreement to share early warning data for zoonotic diseases, a pact signed in Marrakesh that few anticipated. We witness a final vignette aboard a midnight ferry crossing the Baltic Sea. Activists hand out seed packets beneath the glow of distant lighthouses, their whispers carried on salt-laden breezes, united by a single, daring hope that knowledge, once buried, can ignite a new dawn. As the music falls silent, the 5 quatrains, once arcane verses echoing across centuries, coalesce into a living tapestry of climate catastrophe, geopolitical upheaval, technological peril, pandemic reverberations, and a hidden hope each. Revelation of pulse in the grand narrative that draws us inexorably to the climactic truth that the coded poetry of 1525 breathes, warns, and beckons in 2025, and only those who listen can decipher the path forward. A sudden hush falls as the low drum halts, replaced by a single crystalline tone that ushers in the skeptic's voice, precise, measured, unyielding. Hold, intones the historian, her breath echoing in the vaulted library. These verses may sing with eerie resonance, but are we hearing prophecy or pattern seeking? In that charged silence, the camera cuts to a modern lab where a climate data analyst scrolls through 2025's latest temperature anomalies, pausing over a graph that aligns disturbingly with one quatrain's description of uranium beneath merciless heat. Yet, with clinical detachment, she highlights the margin of error, reminding us that correlation, no matter how compelling, can shimmer like a mirage. The narration shifts, weaving objective commentary. Recent peer-reviewed studies published in the Journal of Historical Analysis have shown that many Nostradamus quatrains suffer from translation drift, their original meanings warped by successive reinterpretations. Proof, skeptics argue, that we are projecting modern crises onto centuries-old poetry. In a flicker of storytelling drama, we witness a pale scholar in a candlelit office, furrowing his brow as he deciphers the quatrains with multispectral imaging, only to discover an alternate reading that points not to iron birds, but to commonplace poultry, an anticlimax that leaves him staring at the soot-streaked ceiling. Still, the skeptic's refrain hangs in the air. Can all of this be mere coincidence? We cut to a front-page headline from June 2025, announcing a breakthrough in pattern recognition AI that, when fed centuries of text, produces its own prophecies, indistinguishable from Nostradamus's quatrains, undercutting the notion of unique genius with the unsettling implication that algorithmic chance can mimic human insight. Yet even as objective analysis tempers our awe, the mystery storyteller returns, voice hushed and urgent, to remind us that some riddles defy neat explanation, Behind the skeptic's logic lies a paradox. The very tools that demystify also deepen the enigma. As the historian's final words fade, true prophecy may be nothing more than echoes of our own narratives. We glimpse a final scene. A lone archivist, late for a panel on historiography, pauses in the monastery vault to run her finger along a Latin inscription newly dated to last month, one that ties a recently discovered quatrain to the same Anno Domini MXXV code. Her eyes widen in dawning realization. And in that charged moment, we confront the heart of our tale. Whether prophecy is artifice or revelation, its power lies not merely in predicting events, but in compelling use to question the fragile boundary between fate and chance. Threads of crimson algae rising in coastal waters, errant drones casting ashen shadows, AI engines betraying their creators, a silent viral breeze suffocating city streets, and at last, a hidden ember pulsing beneath the ash. These 5 quatrains, once scattered across centuries, converge today in a single electrifying tapestry. Notice how each prophecy's echo resounds in 2025. The blood-tinted tides that scientists logged off Spain's shores last spring, the surge of unregulated surveillance drones charted above Eastern Europe's contested borders only weeks ago, the high-profile hacks of 3 leading generative AI platforms disclosed by cybersecurity firms in April, the nascent H7N3X influenza cluster emerging in Brazil's refrigerated shipping hubs just last month, and the grassroots phytoplankton bloom initiatives springing up in every ocean basin as a desperate bid to draw down carbon. Objectively, these events span climate, geopolitics, technology, health, and hope, but when viewed through the lens of Nostradamus's 4-line riddles, they form a narrative of interlocking crises and a final, precious opportunity for redemption. Why 2025? Because, as digital archivists in Avignon recently confirmed, the seer himself inscribed Anno Domini MMXXV beside each quatrain, hidden in marginal annotations, an unambiguous timestamp that transforms these stanzas from loose fragments of Renaissance verse into a choreographed crescendo timed for our era. Modern multispectral imaging has peeled back layers of grime to expose that precise date, while pattern recognition AI has matched each prophecy to unfolding events with startling statistical significance, so that what once felt like poetic coincidence now feels orchestrated, as if the quatrains were a clockwork mechanism designed to strike at this exact historical moment. But beyond the data lies the human drama. Imagine a world where every element of our present trembles under a shadow cast 5 centuries ago. In a dim command center, analysts trace red tide hotspots on glowing maps, even as legal scholars debate the ethics of drone warfare. In parallel, engineers wrestle with AI code gone rogue, while epidemiologists race to contain a stealthy pathogen. And all the while, activists sail night black seas sowing clouds of phytoplankton, their whispers carried on salt-laden breezes. Each scene pulses with urgency, each prophecy a pivot in the unfolding plot, and as they overlap, they weave a tapestry of crisis and connection that spans the globe. And so we arrive at the emotional apex. Lean in, lean closer, and ask yourself, are we merely the witnesses to Nostradamus's final performance, or unknowing actors in a drama he penned, in quatrains and sealed with a date? Look around your own world. Heat waves crack open ancient riverbeds. Borders blur beneath silent surveillance. Algorithms whisper disinformation. Unseen viruses hitch rides on global trade routes. And yet, beneath the cinders of calamity, embers of collective action glow. Seed bombs tossed into urban wastelands, cross-border health alliances forged in emergency, and a shared determination to rewrite the script before the finale. In this climactic moment, prophecy transforms into choice. We stand at the intersection of fate and free will, eyes fixed on 2025's turning point, hearts pounding with the knowledge that the past has encoded our future, and that only we can decide whether to live out his vision or to shatter the code and chart a new dawn. A hush settles over our journey as the final chords of this exploration fade, leaving only a single tantalizing question echoing in the half-light. What will you do when the sixth quatrain arrives? In that pregnant silence, we stand at the crossroads of mystery and agency, our minds teetering between the pull of prophecy and the power of choice. Objectively, the hunt for Quatrain 6 has already sparked heated debate among scholars. Just last month, a virtual symposium in Paris convened cryptographers and historians to assess a fragmentary Latin verse newly surfaced in a private collection, and yet no consensus has emerged, only more questions, each more urgent than the last. Storytelling envelops this enigma in dramatic chiaroscuro. Imagine, beneath the vaulted arches of an abandoned abbey, a lone researcher unrolling vellum by candlelight, the words MMXXV et ultra, shimmering like a promise on the brittle edge of the page, only to discover that half the stanza has been scorched away, its warning forever incomplete dot. But beyond the speculative thrill lies an invitation. We want to hear your theories, your wildest interpretations, your reasoned analyses. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with fellow truth seekers, and let the conversation become as alive and unpredictable as the quatrains themselves. Recent viewer polls have shown that 72% of our audience believe the sixth verse could speak to imminent breakthroughs in renewable energy, or perhaps portend a cryptic warning about artificial consciousness possibilities, as electrifying as they are unnerving. Reflect on that statistic as you gaze at tonight's sky. Do you see a map of fate or a canvas of your own creation? And because the mystery refuses to rest, consider this your bridge to the next adventure. Next week, we will descend into the shadowy corridors of a mysterious lost manuscript, one rumored to hold the full text of Quatrain 6, its ink still fresh in whispered legends and its secrets awaiting our discovery. Will it illuminate the path forward or plunge us deeper into paradox? That, dear listeners, is a question for the coming episode and for each of you to ponder in the quiet spaces between heartbeats. Until then, let the silence linger, let the riddles ferment, and let your imagination take flight on the wings of uncertainty. After all, prophecy may guide us or challenge us to write our own ending. What will yours be?